sales engineer. Actually, for sales engineer is a very serious profession, and we even have discussed the tasks that they perform, even in today's world, and they play a very huge role. That any serious company that manufactures products or systems, or even does some installations, they require sales engineer. So the sales engineer might be you when you graduate, and you can practice as a sales engineer purely to sell companies goods and services. We are saying that selling business goods or services require technical background, and that is where an engineer comes in. That role requires technical background equivalent to a bachelor's degree. So when you see this word, just means a bachelor's degree in engineering. So we normally exclude marketing engineers here. We are saying that this is not marketing. Marketing is done by some other people. But talking about sales engineer, this is a kind of person who normally provides the technical background, the technical knowledge that is required for that product that is being sold. So you cannot just sell me some gadget if I am not an engineer and you don't give me some services, some technical way of setting up that product and expect that it will help me. So we normally require engineers. And now an engineer to help us set up and install and commission most of the products that you find in the industry. Talk about generators. As a matter of fact, I have seen sales engineers coming all the way from Europe, coming to our university in Kimathi, particularly when we are setting up labs for power systems, labs for transmission lines. There are so many labs in our university that you'll find. And therefore, for those equipment that we were buying to be installed and to be commissioned, they required sales engineer to come all the way from the manufacturer, most of them from Germany and others from Japan, purely to come and set up and configure them and set them up. So that is the work that an engineer is actually hired to do or to carry out. So now we have said in detail that is what a sales engineer actually does. But now their specific tasks might include the following: that they make calls on management representatives at commercial, industrial, and other establishments, convince prospective clients to buy the products and offers a product. So at some point, for instance, when say our vice chancellor wants to actually sign the check or to pay for those components, at some point he might ask very technical questions. Are these products going to do the basic tasks that for which we are buying them for? And it is actually the engineer who will answer those kind of calls or who will make those kind of calls. So we are talking about calls to management representatives at both commercial, industrial, or even other establishments, convincing them. So at some point you might be a sales engineer who you're going to be using your engineering knowledge because this management representative might also be an engineer by profession, but now in management. Therefore, they might ask very technical questions like, what is the wattage of your transformer? What is the wattage of your generator? How much capacity does it carry? And those questions cannot be answered by salespeople. They require specific sales engineers who have participated in the development, design of that product. So talk about another task that they do is to assist in Salesforce in sale of company products. So I think more or less we have talked about assisting. Assisting might involve providing technical knowledge, among others. They might perform demonstrations, or explain product to customer representatives, such as other engineers. They might actually talk to other engineers and professionals on the work of how that product works. So we are saying that that is a role that cannot be explained by just a general person who has no engineering knowledge. We are saying that is another role that an engineer plays. So again, they also draw up sales contracts for products and services. For instance, some time back, I was drawing some contract explaining, and that contract required that we quantify how much work is required for us to develop that product. And some of those estimations particularly talk about sizing and costing, like how many man hours are required to do some development, to do some modification of a product or repair or that kind of thing. This estimation cannot be done by a salesperson who doesn't know in the first place how the product is developed. So we are saying that a sales engineer will actually need to be there, particularly in the sizing and costing. So because a sales engineer without the knowledge of developing a product cannot know how much the cost of a product might be. As much as they are going to be told that this product cost this much, there's some extra services, some extra roles that are played by engineer in terms of supporting the product that only an engineer can be able to do. So I think that explains the roles of sales engineer in terms of draws up sales and services contract. So the other task that we are going to be talking about that they do is provide technical services to clients relating to use, operation, and maintenance of equipment. So again, this might be very similar to what we have already said up there, that they providing technical background to prospective clients. But now you're saying that here they are providing technical sales, technical services to clients. So technical services means more or less what we have said, relating to how the product is used, the limits beyond which you cannot take a product. For instance, you might find that a certain generator cannot, if it is rated, say most of the generators are rated in terms of power, which is sometimes in wattage, or the energy that they are able to reserve, which is and they are normally rated. And therefore, if you exceed this rating, be it of power or wattage, like you have a generator that supplies 300 watts, and you want to run a machine that requires, it runs at 270. And then you might think that this one is within the range of 300 watts. What an engineer might actually tell you is that any generator runs at optimal if it is operating at 60% capacity. 60% capacity. So as much as it is rated at 300, this might be peak power. So if it operates at 60%, you might actually realize that it is best when it is operating at 240 to 40 watts. Therefore, that kind of technical services to clients can only be done by an engineer. As much as there are other people who will pretend like they know more than they should know, what we are simply saying that in ideal situation, tech engineers actually provide the technical services that no other person can provide. We're continuing with the roles of sales engineer. And the other role that sales engineer carry out is they arrange for trial installation of equipment. So before you actually sell a whole equipment, we normally do trial installations and just for the customer to do some testing. And that kind of trial installations are done by an engineer. Number 7, design and draft variation of standard products in order to meet customer needs. Again, this is quite obvious. For instance, we are selling generators, and some customer has a 10-story building, and another customer has a 3-story building. If you don't follow the engineering requirements, some people will just tell you that buy the same generator because as much as you are not going to be using the entire power, it will still work. You might find a generator that required to service this 10-story building might cost 10 million, while the one that is required to service this 3-story building might only cost, say, 5 million. And therefore, if you don't follow the engineering standards, you might, someone who wants to sell you a very expensive generator that is not going to be at its full capacity might convince you to buy the big generator because they want to make money. And therefore, as a matter of fact, you must always draft the variation. The key word here you're talking about is variations of standard products that customers need. So more or less that is another task that sales engineers do. Okay, number 8. So they review customer documents to develop and prepare cost estimates. And I think this is something we have already said. We are talking about costing and projected production increases from use of proposed equipment and services. So most of the times, you don't just sell end products. Sometimes you require to develop products for customers. And therefore, when you are developing products for customers, you are going to give them estimates. And in case there are some changes that customers require. You normally require to give them what is the projected increase in production cost. Again, these are more or less very related roles that sales engineers do. We are going through this because sales engineer is a very important, they play a very important role in their work, particularly in the industry. So I think now I'll move a bit quickly to sum it up. We are saying number 9, they draw up and propose changes in equipment. So yeah, of course you can see that there are times equipment requires to be changed, processes or materials resulting in cost reduction. So you might realize that our generator is really consuming fuel, and we might consider making some changes that will allow cost reduction or improvement in service. So that kind of work is also done by a sales engineer. They also assist in the development of custom-made machinery. Again, this is very similar to what I've already said, that we make custom-made products and services and machinery to customers. When we are selling that kind of custom-made products, we definitely require the services of a sales engineer, because it is the sales engineer who has sat down or stood up with the customer, and the customer described the service requirements or product requirements, and therefore it is the sales engineer who will interpret. The keyword is to interpret the customer requirements that the other engineers can actually now carry out those development. Lastly is, of course, number 11, they diagnose problems that are in the customer's premises for maintenance, and lastly, provide technical training to employees. So again, look at this one. You might think that when you sell a product, you are done. Everybody will know how to use it, but some components or systems or plants are very complex. They require training, and those training can only be done again by an engineer. Therefore, that's one of the work that sales engineers do. So we have actually gone into details because sales engineer plays a very huge role in engineering, and therefore that is why we give them special attention, probably more than other engineers.